talking about SEO, what it is and why it is important for your organization, school or business. My name is James Digby. This session is also going to be backed up with some resources that we have available on our website. Do feel free to ask questions as we go along. We have a chat box in the bottom right-hand corner, so feel free to interrupt me with questions, or if you prefer, you can wait until the end and I can answer any questions that you might have. The session is being recorded, so afterwards we'll make sure to send a copy to everyone. And if you're still unsure about how to apply it to your organization, please feel free to come back to us on that email and we'll book in a free session with you to go through how you could maybe implement some of the things that we talked about, or how it applies to perhaps a unique situation that you have. I'll be mainly talking about SEO from the point of view of search engines. So that applies to people who are interested in marketing their organization, potentially to customers, or if you're a school, maybe parents, pupils. But also if you're in HR or recruitment, this would be relevant for you if you wanted to increase the brand reach that you have for information about your careers. So job opportunities, maybe teacher training if you're a school, maybe early careers if you're a business or organization. So feel free to interrupt and ask how something might apply to marketing or how it might apply to HR and recruitment as we go along. So the vast majority of people, before they engage in either completing a form or an application or contacting somebody about a product, service or job role, they would start by searching online for information about that organizational business. So if you're not on the rankings for Google for those terms that people are searching for, then you're basically invisible to those people. SEO is optimizing your content so that when people are searching for relevant terms, your pages, your website, your content is coming up in those search results, and therefore they're being directed through to your website. It is definitely a long-term project. It isn't something that gives immediate results, or very rarely does it give immediate results. Most of the time, you would expect to start seeing the impact of your SEO work over 3 to 6 months. So we'll talk a little bit about what it really means, just simplifying some of the elements and going into a bit more detail where it's relevant. We'll talk about why it matters for you. We'll talk about some simple things that you can go away and do straight away, because there's lots of things that you can do, so it's good to condense some of that down. Some of the tools that are available to help you. And then finally, we'll just talk about some of the common mistakes that we see people making at the moment, so you can avoid those mistakes and not have to make them yourself. So, as I mentioned, SEO is search engine optimization. It's focused on optimizing content so that the algorithms within platforms, and the vast majority of those platform references are going to be for Google, pick up that content and link it to particular keywords. So, for example, if you were a school in Cambridge, you might want to be ranking for top schools in Cambridge as a search term. If you are a business in Newcastle and you're selling mattresses, for example, you might want to be ranking for mattresses Newcastle. Search engine optimization gives you the ability to attract people who are actively looking for those products, services, or jobs without you having to pay to reach that target audience. You can use tools to research what people are looking for, what terms they're using, and that will give you an idea as well of the volume of searches each month. So, for example, if you were to rank at the top of the search results for something very niche, say you're in a small village, that might be useful in a few situations a year, but the vast majority of the data is going to tell you to avoid that, because you're not going to be getting any traffic from that, and therefore it is fairly pointless to put the effort into it. Typically, the more competition there will be for a particular search term, the harder you will find it is to rank for that keyword. So it's always a bit of a balance between picking keywords that deliver traffic to you, but not competing with people who perhaps have websites just dedicated to that particular topic, because you will then struggle to rank at all for it. And we'll go into a bit more detail about that. The best way of kind of describing it would be a bit like having a sign outside a physical site. So, for example, if you're a school, it is making people aware that you have a school there, either with a sign on the road or having a sign beside the road. If you're not ranking for this content, then people aren't aware that you're there, because we now know the vast majority of people would look for things first of all in Google. The algorithm for Google is incredibly complicated, but we know that there are some key areas that it looks at when it's determining the value of the content, say on a website, but most likely on a individual web page. So it's looking at the number of times that the particular search term or keyword is used in the content. It's making sure that that is written in a user-friendly way. So, for example, you can't just repeat the keyword 30 times. It's got to be written in a relevant way. So if you were a human, you would be looking for it and thinking that this is just normal content. You wouldn't be thinking that this is something to increase ranking. It's got to be structured in a technically clean way as well. So it's got to be mobile friendly, and it's got to be fast. You can't just pack a lot of information and media into a page to try and increase your ranking, sadly, because the algorithm is aware of that. The way that the search platforms look at reputation is each platform is given each kind of website or web page is given a kind of a reputation. So that's called domain authority. And typically the backlinks from those sites are given different values. So if lots of people are linking through to your website, say, for example, you're in a particular sector and lots of your news channels are kind of referencing your website, then those things are going to help you rank higher in the search results, because you've got lots of links back to you, and that's given you a better reputation in the views of the algorithm. If you create lots of content and you post it all in January, because you've got a bit more time in January and you don't have time for the rest of the year, that is going to impact on your ability to rank. So the algorithm also looks at activity. The more regularly you update and refresh content, even if it's just minor changes, the more regularly you have people engaging with that content, the greater value it's going to be giving that particular page or content in terms of the algorithm. Does anybody have any questions about that simplified structure of how SEO works? Perfect. So to give you kind of a statistic, if you're looking internally for reasons to be investing in SEO, whether that's in terms of marketing, whether that's in terms of recruitment, we know that in terms of customers, but also candidates, roughly 80% of people are researching a business or an organization before they visit their website. And local SEO is becoming increasingly important. So if you're wanting to rank for X results, so for example, education providers near me or education providers near London, you will need to be investing in SEO to get to those terms, because there is so much competition now. Being on that first page is the most important bit. So it generates more clicks, more visits. If you're a school or a university or a college or whoever you might be, those enrollments, those purchases, those conversions, they're going to come from being on that first page. People typically don't go beyond the first page unless they're really kind of detailed researching what they're looking for. So say you were a bilingual school, you would want to kind of start off by looking at whether you're ranking for that local area. So if you're in a city or a town, for example, you might want to put in the term bilingual preschool in, say, Royston, and see whether you're coming up. That's typically a good place to start. Because SEO can be so broad, it's good to have an idea of what might be the first stepping stone in your kind of SEO journey. And we'd always recommend that you start with this location piece. What we're also seeing is, aside from kind of these increases in brand awareness, in lead generation, inquiries, and profit as well. So for those people selling a service or product, we're also seeing that there's a greater trust in customers. So people will automatically give you a higher valuation in their minds if you are the top of the search results for the terms they're looking up. So it doesn't just increase that traffic, it does also improve your reputation within the marketplace. So taking an example here of a school. So if you wanted some easy things that you could be doing, first of all, you could be adding into the page titles that you use and the details within your website, your location. So this is a very quick and easy way to start ranking for a particular location. So for example, if we knew that people would be looking for marketing agencies, we're based in Hertfordshire, we might want to put in Bright Marketing Agency, Hertfordshire. This is a very simple first step to be able to help you see whether you can very quickly get into the search results for a particular location. Look at the keywords that your customers search for. So you could physically be going to ask those people, or you could be using tools online. I will share after this a link to a tool that allows you to do that, but it allows you to see roughly how many people per month in your area are searching for a particular term. So if we're talking about a bilingual school as an example, you could look at bilingual school, but you could also look at things like international curriculum, and you could have a look and see whether it is worth you ranking for those terms, worth you putting effort into that, so that you could be getting traffic that is organic and you're not paying fees for kind of Google adverts and so on and so forth through that. A lot of people don't list themselves on Google Business, so do sign up to that. We know that a lot of traffic comes through that, and the fact that you could be ranking your Google profile page when people are searching for suitable businesses, it does help deliver traffic. So if you haven't got that set up, do set that up. Make sure your website is mobile friendly. A lot of people do this when they build their website, but they don't do this on a regular basis. So if you're working in marketing, either go in yourself or talk to your web developer about just optimizing the content so it's a bit more mobile friendly, and reviewing the load times on multiple device types. So tablets, for example, mobiles and desktops, just to make sure that everything is loading as quickly as possible. Most people have cut back in terms of blogs and news and articles with on their website. We're actually seeing that there is a good benefit to having those sections, so long as you're handwriting that copy rather than using something like AI or regurgitating copy that you find online. So if you do go down that route, there's a very good way to increase your ranking for particular search terms, only if you're doing the content yourself and you're not using ChatGPT, for example, to do it for you. I'll stick with the example of bilingual school. So we've seen the kind of things that we've seen help have been frequently asked questions for parents, for example. So people might be searching for what is bilingual education. You could be ranking for that. You could be creating articles or blogs or news articles. So, for example, top 5 benefits of bilingual learning. Because then when people are searching for even part of that, say, for example, benefits of bilingual learning, you should be ranking in those search results. It's going to depend on the level of competition for those terms, but you should be ranking for those terms because you would hope there wouldn't be too much competition in your area. We've also seen if you're a school, for example, or you're an institute or an organization or a membership organization, we've seen that if you run any events, lots of people, as you'll know, are unable to attend those things, or they're unable to attend webinars such as this one. Sharing on your website recaps of those events is a great way to get out there. Particularly keywords is a great way to add to your website without being too spammy, really, in terms of you're just repeating the same keywords. So it's probably something that a lot of people don't do, but event recaps is a really great thing to be starting as a process. And anything from customers, parents, students, learners, whoever you might be working with, is great to have stories from them in comments and references. And if possible, get them to mention that location, that city, that town that you're wanting to rank for, because that will be a good way to be getting those terms into your website without just repeating it unnecessarily. Going back to that initial point about SEO, it does need to read well. It does need to be good for the user. The algorithm is clever enough to mimic an actual user. So just bear that in mind. So in terms of what not to do, that leads nicely onto the fact that there's something called keyword stuffing, and it's basically repeating the keywords as many times as possible without considering whether that reads well, whether that's engaging, whether it's useful. So always get somebody else to read through it. If you're aiming for, say, 3 to 5 keywords for a page, which is potentially ideal for whatever you might be looking to do, make sure that it's spread out through the content, and make sure that it reads well, is relevant, and it's useful. Lots of people, they don't look at their media options, so they don't look at any videos they have or images, especially if it's on like a landing page, say for recruitment. So make sure that you look on those media items on your mobile device to make sure that it does load well, it loads quickly, and it's visible as well. If it's not visible or it doesn't work correctly, you will be impacting your ability to rank. Don't create lots of content on one single page. So for example, if you create a landing page, don't repeat keywords in headings or even in the body of it within kind of order. As I say, spread it out, make sure your heading is very clear in terms of each heading's maybe kind of keywords that you're targeting, but don't repeat those keywords within different headings. Each one needs to be unique. And then make sure that the structure is clean and tidy for that page. So again, it's got to be very user-friendly, and it's very easy when you're just focusing on SEO to move away from having engaging content. So potentially getting somebody else to look through it is very good. Outdated photos that have been added to your website long ago, outdated media and content that you're reusing will impact on your SEO. So don't reuse those things. Create from scratch new content. Google Business Profile is great so that you appear on maps. It's a great place to collect reviews. You can use Google Search Console to see how Google's actually viewing your website, and you can understand a little bit more about how the algorithm is kind of valuing the content that you're producing. If your website is WordPress, there's something called Yoast SEO. It's got very easy tips, so it can review the content that you're creating, and it can give you recommendations of, say, you haven't repeated your keywords enough, you haven't used this within the heading, or you haven't used this within the description. And then in terms of Ubersuggest, it will allow you to research keywords free of charge. So if you're not sure whether people are searching for, say, head teacher jobs or teaching assistant jobs or whatever it might be, you can put these different terms in and you can see how you rank. The same if you're creating content, say, for resources or webinars or events. You could be using these tools to get a better understanding of what you should call those resources or events so that they're actually becoming useful for you from an SEO point of view. We offer a wide range of SEO services for clients. So if you do need support with this, if it's just free advice, we're happy to kind of talk you through how you can implement this. But if you wanted ongoing support in a kind of done for you model, that's something that we'd be very happy to talk to you about. So just kind of a very quick recap. In short, SEO is about ranking on Google. There are other search engines, but the vast majority of people would want to focus on Google. Starting off with local keywords and updating your content to be of a better quality is going to help you with visibility. So that's always the place that we would recommend that you kind of consider first of all, which leads nicely onto what could you be doing to find customers or candidates or students or learners or teachers or whoever it might be that you're looking to kind of target through this. We would recommend that you start to by updating your homepage title. So as I showed for Bright, you could be putting in exactly what you are. So if you're an institute, for example, you could be putting in the word institute and you could be putting in the location. If you're nationwide, that could even be United Kingdom. You could be creating content for your ideal target audience. That might be customers, that might be learners, that might be teachers, that might be candidates. So the most important bit here is that it is helpful content. So it's got to be producing something of value, and then you can optimize that so that it helps you from an SEO point of view. Check if you've got a Google business listing. If you don't, you can claim that. You can start working on that free of charge. And then ask yourself for the content that you have, is it mobile friendly? So review on tablets, desktop and mobile devices. See whether it loads quickly, see whether it formats correctly, and see whether it's easy for you to navigate through. Does the menu open well? Does the content load? And can you access everything that you might want to access? SEO is a very complicated, detailed topic. So we've given very simple tips because it's very difficult sometimes to know where to start. Hopefully it has been very helpful. We've got plenty of time. So does anybody have any questions for me? In terms of your question about who's this going to be more relevant for, if you're looking at it from a marketing perspective, so you're looking to attract customers and whoever those customers might be, then typically that would be marketing. If you recruit for particular roles and you're working in HR, you're a recruiter, if you're repeatedly struggling to fill a particular role type, then you could be producing copy and content for that particular job type so that your marketing team could then create a landing page for it. So for example, if you struggle with cleaning staff, you could create a landing page using the words cleaning jobs, for example, and then your location. So that then when people are searching for cleaning jobs in the local area, you're coming up at the top of the search results. Although you might not be producing that on your website, it would typically be the person who's interested in that goal, so HR or recruitment, creating the content, gathering, say, testimonials and videos and photography, and passing that on to marketing. Does that answer your question? So if you're a trust of schools, it's going to depend on where you have individual websites for each location. What we're seeing in terms of those trusts is that they're typically moving to a central website with an individual page for each location. If that is the case, that you have one website with multiple location pages on it, then typically it would be the central team. They would update those location pages. If each individual school has their own website, you should have a look at the value of those websites. Is it actually producing results and reach and people, are you ranking for key terms? If so, if you were to remove them and you were to move to location pages, you might actually negatively impact your ranking for particular locations. You can build that back. So always when you move to a new website, you're going to drop down in the rankings for things initially, but you can build that back. So my recommendation would be rather sooner rather than later, start building those things on your central team pages before you cut back on individual school accounts. The bigger the trust, really, the more school websites you're going to have, the harder it is going to be to manage those things. So the sooner you start that, the better, in my view. Perfect. Any other questions at all for me? Brilliant. Thank you all very much. If you've got any questions, we're going to be sharing the recording shortly. Do feel free to come back to me and ask any questions you might have. You might want to share some content, or you might want some advice on something. Feel free to email me and we will be in touch shortly. But thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it's a very complicated topic, and hopefully it's a little bit clearer and a little bit simpler now. So thank you very much.